Hello there. Welcome back to the Current Conservative. It's your favorite girls. We're back finally
Hey, hey,
in a
hey.
little bit.
Mhm.
Life got a little busy for us, but we are
Yeah.
back in action.
Yes,
And
we
we're
are. We
yeah.
are here. We are back. I guess we spent some time together and we actually did have plans to record and then just,
Yeah.
time got away from us. So
Right. We're like, we are gonna record in person. It's gonna
so
be
many times.
phenomenal.
Yeah. And then what do you know? It's like
And
our
we did
last
not.
day of the trip and we're like, we're so tired and we didn't get it. That's
Yeah.
okay though. We're here.
Yeah.
We did it.
We're here.
Speaking of, I guess we can talk a little of our trip,
Yeah, sure.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
um, yeah, we went to Texas in early June, and Sunny and I worked together besides doing this podcast. And so we had some fun out in Texas filming for a couple days, and we're working on like this whole unit lesson plan for like talking to your kids about socialism because we really feel like, this organization that we work with, we feel like, that message has been lost on this rising generation. Like kids
Mhm.
do not understand like the benefits of economic independence. So when they're in school and they hear these messages about, socialist messages about policies and things that can, eradicate poverty and have free healthcare and free schooling and all of these dangerous policies, they buy into it because it's like, oh my gosh, this sounds really great and like the empathetic thing to do. But the conservative movement has not done a good job of communicating our actual policies and beliefs and values to
Yep.
the younger generation. So we're now in this really dangerous environment where a lot of young people are like totally down for like a socialist politician. And so anyway, we did
Yeah.
that.
And we
Yeah.
like to piggyback for we firmly believe that this has a lot to do with not knowing the history, not really
Mhm.
understanding what socialism entails, what communism is, what it has done to so many nations around the world, the reality of these policies that they promise a lot more than they actually
Deve
give and do for the
Deliver. Yeah.
people and
Mhm.
deliver, exactly.
Yeah.
Overpromise, underdeliver every single time.
Yes.
And to the extreme, it's not talking about like, "Oh, well, the policies weren't that great." It's like, "No, death, famine, starvation."
That's
So,
all.
that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And yeah, so we're really excited about it because there are, I think it's a little over 3.1 million families in America that are homeschooling, and they
Mhm.
need these resources because a lot of parents want to homeschool their children, but they may not because they don't trust the government public school system, but they may not know exactly what that entails or how to do it. Or maybe they think like, well, we don't like, can we teach our kids? And it's a lot more simpler than we probably think it is. You are your
Yeah.
child's best educator. You are your like biggest fan for your children. So this is
Mhm.
the most important role that one of the most important roles that you can play in their lives.
Yeah.
And we really want this information to be available to people, as well as like families who aren't able to homeschool their kids and have their kids in public schools, but want to have these difficult, challenging conversations with their kids so that they can be prepared and informed and have that conviction on these topics when they are talking to their peers. Because those
Absolutely.
conversations will eventually come up because they will interact with people who are literally becoming blue-haired commie liberals and
Mhm.
will challenge them on their positions. And we want the rising generation to have all of the information and the knowledge to be able to have those difficult conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a monumental and pivotal time in our country's history, as our listeners, I'm sure, know. And so, with that being said, we're really excited. We will definitely let you all know, all 10 of you
Yeah.
know, that we have
We
that
will let all of you.
available. All 11 of you.
Yeah.
And then,
But also we did some, like, super fun conversations regarding communism
mhm.
and education and the family, and so that'll be super fun to watch, so you have to look out all of 10 of you will have to look out for that on social
Look it out for
media.
that. Yeah.
Look it up, thanks.
Um, and
Um,
then on that same note, we then flew from San Antonio to Dallas, and we were in Dallas for 2.5 days, actually more like 2 days, not even 2
yeah,
days.
it was pretty quick, yeah.
Yeah, we did a little quick hi bye, and we popped in. We made an appearance at the Turning
Hello.
Point Young Women's Leadership Summit.
YWLS.
Yeah, and that was cool. We didn't really like see a lot of the speakers, to be honest. We did go and watch Yeonmi Park because,
Oh my gosh.
hello, her story is unbelievable. First of all, she came out and she was so nervous. She was like, obviously not used to public speaking. And so she comes out. She, first of all, I mean, I'm petite. Okay. I'm like 105 pounds soaking wet and 5 feet tall, like on my tippy toes, basically. Uh, and she's tinier than me. She's so little.
She's 80 pounds.
She's
She's
tiny.
like 80 pounds.
Is she literally 80 pounds?
She said she was like 80 pounds, yeah, on
Oh my
the Joe Rogan
gosh.
podcast, yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Which
she's
if that
little.
is the most, like, life-changing podcast that I could have watched because it just clarified so many things for me. I didn't like, this is crazy, but I mean, I knew North Korea was a communist country, as
Mhm.
I'm sure many people do, but I did not know, like, to the extent that these people
Right.
are suffering. Like, was
Yeah.
not aware of that by any
Mhm.
means. So,
Yeah.
yeah, to hear her talk about it. Do you know that she's spoken in front of the UN and stuff, like, so many, like, a bunch of
Yeah.
times?
Yeah.
And they were like, "We did an investigation and found that, like, whatever." Like, it's just all
They
because
don't let
China
her.
funds the regime and they
Mhm.
cannot upset China. And they literally sat her next to the North Korean delegation.
Wow. Yeah, I
And she
think
was
they, like,
like,
banned her from talking. They, like, won't
"Oh my
invite her
god."
anymore to speak. Wait, I wanna say, though,
Get
when she came out,
Yeah.
um, to speak, she was, like, all nervous and everything, and then she's like, I was thinking backstage to myself
Yeah.
that, no matter what I come out and say, no matter how stupid it is, I won't be executed." And, like, she was, like,
Yeah.
serious,
Woo!
and we were just like, "Whoa, okay, like,
Wow, that hit different.
that's that's where we're at with everything."
Not going to get my
Um,
head chopped off. Thank you.
right. And so, yeah, that was a very eye-opening,
Mhm.
talk to watch. I'm looking forward to listening to that Joe Rogan podcast, and we ended up meeting
Yeah.
her and getting a little picture with
Yeah.
her. She's
So sweet.
precious.
So
Yeah,
kind.
I
Uh,
know, so sweet, and the
yeah,
most beautiful. I think she's just so stunning.
I don't I mean, what a blessing that, like, and when you hear, like, her whole story, like, how she got out and what happened after and just the
Mhm,
trials that she's been through, it's like,
mhm.
I it's incredible for someone to have gone through so much trauma and then have such a positive, like, mindset and attitude, and I'm sure there are, like I'm sure there are many difficult days for her as there are for
Mhm.
everybody, but especially if you're what's it called? Defector of a communist country where you were literally
Yeah,
starved to death. Um, she has such an incredible, like, outlook on life, and she
yeah,
has found her faith through it, which is, like, the most incredible part. Because I feel like a lot of people, when you go through, like, difficult times, it's kind of like, "Well, I was abandoned by God," or, "I lost my faith," because it's like it's hard to have that outlook, and
yeah.
so it just is so incredible. But yeah, when she was sitting next to when she was at the UN, she said that she was by herself on the trip, and she was, like, obviously she was seated next to the North Korean delegation, and then when she went back to her hotel room and stuff, she was like, I was, like, freaking out, like, I couldn't sleep because I
Mm.
was by myself, and, like, I didn't know if they were gonna come and kill me,
Yeah, that's
like, in our hotel
crazy.
room,
Wow,
like,
wow.
insane.
When I got to go to Washington, DC for the first time in
Mhm.
March, and such a life-changing city. I mean, I know our country is clearly, like, in a wreckage, but, that that
Dumpster
city.
fire.
Yeah, I loved my trip to DC, and I can't wait to go back. but I
I
went to
really wanna go.
the Museum of, Communism and,
Mhm.
the Victims of Communism Museum, I think it's actually called, and I mean, it's a great museum, and it's super interactive, and there's just a ton of things to read and look at and watch. And one of the rooms, is you come in and it's like this huge screen. It's like a projector on the wall, and it has like this ticking body count, basically. And it's all like while you're watching the body count go up, it's showing the graph where like communism has basically like taken over. So like it shows like how it's taken over like Russia and then the Eastern Bloc, and then how it went into Germany, and then it, obviously came into Cuba and then Laos and Vietnam and all these, just all the parts of the world where like
Mm.
communism has, been tried. And then meanwhile, you're just watching the body count go tick, 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 like all the way up past like 100 million. And then
Ugh,
they have this other little station where you can basically put yourself in someone's shoes in a communist country. And it's like an interactive guide that takes you through and you make decisions along the way. And so
my
there was one
gosh.
guy from North Korea, and um he wanted to be, I can't remember like all the specifics, but it was basically like he wanted to be a journalist, but he knew the regime was going to come against him. And so he and his little brother ended up fleeing, and he was climbing over a gate and smashed his leg on the gate and like ripped it open, and he had this huge injury
Oof.
and he had no access to healthcare. He basically had to put a tourniquet on his leg and was trying to keep it clean and everything while running from the regime. And he
Oh
ended up
my
having to
gosh.
have his leg amputated, and it was just all this crazy stuff, and like they killed his family because he was against the regime.
Mhm.
And at the end of the interactive guide, they tell you like this was actually a real person, and he had to make all these decisions, and
Oh my
this is
god.
the path that he actually took. And it just like, I don't know, standing there in the museum with all the things and just being surrounded by the you know absolute chaos and destruction and death that communism has caused on this world and so many different societies. It just gave me full body chills. I was like, oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
Like, there was another story about a woman whose dad was a politician against the regime. Like, he was like on the opposition party, and he was jailed. And she was also targeted for her beliefs. And I mean, the stories are crazy. And
Endless, yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
in Cuba. These are like actual real stories. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, these stories have to be highlighted and told and retold again and again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, Yeonmi says, like, that there's a rule in place that they will that nobody will intercede in the situation until or unless, like, 90% of the population is killed. Like, if there's 10%
Wow.
of the population left, then they will interfere
It's
because they
so confusing
actively want people to die.
to
They
die.
actively prevent people from getting food.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
It's I mean, it just
that's
it's so hard to it gets so hard to fathom and to grasp that
yeah.
concept because we live in the Western culture, which is like, how much can you get? Like
Mhm.
consumerism and just like literally it to a fault, I would
Yeah.
say personally, is my belief is that like we are so entitled and we have everything available to us at our
Mhm.
fingertips.
Yeah.
And you have people living right now in this moment who cannot even like
Feed.
understand that they are so oppressed they can't even speak, they don't even have certain words in their language, that they don't even know how to
Mhm.
describe certain things, and they are all they want is a bowl of rice. Like that is
Yeah.
what she says. Like you cannot, and this is such an important piece of the puzzle in terms of like how you create a fear-based communistic society, like people who are willing to go into that is by forcing them into positions where they are so desperate and so
Mhm.
scared and just starving, literally starving, because she was like, you can't like think about how you're going to go and fight back against the regime when you're literally starving. You're about to die and
Mhm.
fall over, and there's dead
Mhm.
bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
She said seeing dead bodies is as normal as breathing.
Wow. Yeah.
Like
There's
it
2
just
things there's 2 things I wanna say. So, like, in my studies of communism and, like, communist regimes seizing power, a lot of the people actually believe, like, that communists take guns first, and that's kinda wrong. For the most part, they seize
sees
land.
the means of production. Yep.
They
Yeah.
seize land, and they
Land. Yep.
do land reform, and they do wealth
Mhm.
redistribution, and so they basically seize the land
Because
from the
that's like
capitalists.
initial. They
Yeah,
can
and then
immediately start affecting the food supply and the food chain, the supply
absolutely.
chain. Yeah.
And what you're saying is like food is our greatest resource. So then if they can control the land, they control our food. And if they can starve us, then they can control the
Our
population into
minds. Yep.
death. Because I think she also
Mhm.
said something that was along the lines of basically if they can like keep the population low, it's easier to control. And again, it
Absolutely.
all goes back to control. So like what we're seeing today with the ESG and the climate initiatives and the climate agenda, that is rooted in communism because the governments are going to find an excuse and a way.
Right.
They're going to create a crisis because never let a crisis go to waste. Saul Alinsky, to seize the land. We might still have our guns, but the government's going to be like, oh, actually, for your safety, though, we have to take over this land. Or we're just going to come and do this on your land and you have to give it to
Right.
us now because of the climate. The climate's, we need to control this part of
And
the, river or the
right.
lake or whatever. And so they're
And you
going
have a
to,
quota, and so you have to give us everything that you make too.
right. Well, we're seeing that in,
And then we'll give it back to you. We'll
yeah,
ratio it out and we'll distribute it equally amongst everybody.
we're seeing it in the
Hello,
European,
has anyone
yeah.
been to the DMV? This doesn't work.
Yeah, well, we're seeing it in the
Government
European Union.
bureaucracy.
Yeah, we're seeing it in the government or the European Union right now. The specifically the Dutch government is telling the people
Yeah.
they can't have like too many cows anymore. They're
Because of the
gonna
methane and the climate change
yes.
and that. Yeah.
So now that's
Right.
reducing the meat
Right.
population. They're gonna get rid of meat. The FDA just approved lab grown meat. So do you see what they're trying to do? Like
Right.
they're teeing us
Yep.
up for
They're
controlling our food
yep.
source. They're going to control
Controlling
our
our
land.
movement. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we still have our guns. They know that they can't get our guns. They know that for a fact. So
Right.
ultimately
They're
their
doing all
plan,
they're kind of hitting all the other bases at this
yeah,
point until it doesn't
100%.
even matter anymore because it's
Yeah.
like they have the control anyways. Yeah.
Mhm.
And shoot, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, I think that because of the climate change thing, like I feel like in the past with communist societies, we didn't have the technology that we have now, so it was a lot easier to manipulate people, and propaganda was just like easier. It was more effective because you probably only had like a newspaper, right? Or then there was a TV. There's only like a couple channels, so it's like
Mhm.
everybody's kind of watching the same thing. Now that we have like our society is like so widespread in terms of like technology, social media, like our technology has literally just absolutely exploded. They are preying, I think, on our emotions and like wanting to like do better and like make a better world. So they're still using that
Yes.
lie of like
Mhm.
utopian society, make a better world. Socialism is is the perfect world, as they say. But
Yep.
because they can prey on our emotions and our emotional life a lot more because they can reach us like so easily.
Yeah.
The climate change thing is so effective because it
Mhm.
goes right into their agenda of like, it's, we got to save the world. And like, does no one remember that they said that the earth was going to explode or like be underwater 12 years ago and 10
Yeah.
years? You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes no sense. And so I think that people really need to see climate change because it used to be global warming, that this is their new red, like green
Right.
is the new
Yeah.
red, as you always say.
Yes.
And it is so true because they can
Yep.
really prey on our weaknesses of like wanting to save the fish and the turtles,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
yeah,
true.
I
Like, there's
mean,
nothing wrong with like sustainability and like being kind to nature, like, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, but they're the ones literally chopping down entire rainforests to feed us seed oils and our oat
Right.
milk. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like,
yeah.
they are the biggest hypocrites to ever walk this earth.
Yeah.
That is something that I stand by, is that being a liberal is being a hypocrite,
Yeah.
period.
Fear, and it's a mental disorder. Yeah, I mean,
Period.
yeah,
Yeah, it's mental illness, truly.
climate communism is on the rise, and all the socialist agenda is based around this false sense of empathy and a false sense of security, because they
Mhm.
really do buy into people's emotions.
Exactly, yeah.
Or they play off people's emotions. They want you to feel so strongly about something that you feel like you have to take action on it, and they want you to be those agitators in the community and such. And that's probably why they have been like able to get their agenda thus far, is because
Mhm.
they are the agitators, they are the organizers, you know. And
Yeah.
conservatives, we naturally innately want to be like, you know, to ourselves, we're individuals, we just want to take care of like our little like micro
Our home and our
environment.
family and
Yeah.
our yeah.
And we want limited government. So we almost kind of think of like that as if like we shouldn't get involved with the government, but it's like absolutely opposite. We have to control this monster and render it. And it brings me to my next point, is like, I think it's also been forgotten by a lot of people that like our Declaration of Independence actually gives us not only the right but a duty to literally,
Responsibility.
yeah, we have a right and a duty to overthrow our government when it becomes, and the actual terminology is, a long train of
Long train
abuses.
of
Yeah,
and
and
usurpations,
usurpations.
yeah.
Yes, and so, and then it goes on to say basically
I
like,
love it.
at the end of the Declaration of Independence, they actually talk about the crown and how the prince can have all of these great qualities, but actually, like, he's a tyrant. Like, the crown is a
At the
tyrant.
end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So yeah.
it's up to the people to literally put the crown in the place. And in other words, put the government in its place, and
Mhm.
have our independence from the government. Like, the government doesn't need to be in all of our freaking business. Okay. Like, and so I'm just like, I'm over
Yeah.
here ready with my musket. Okay. You tell me when, people,
Who?
and I will be
Yeah.
there.
And on my
Okay.
bayonet. I'm ready.
Yeah. We're ready
Oh
over
my
here.
gosh.
We're not
Yeah.
inciting violence though. But we're not.
I mean, no, I'm kidding. No,
We're not.
but seriously, like, I am
Yeah.
the Patriot. What's
Yeah.
his face? And
Literally,
Mel
you know those
Gibson and the
memes? It's like,
Patriot. I'm like, "Ah!"
yeah, you know that meme, how it's like, how I view myself, how my mom views me, how my friends see me. How I view
Yeah.
me is I am bareback horseback riding on a freaking horse over a mountain holding a flagpole with the sun setting in the background. That is how I view myself, okay?
You and
And
me both, sister. You and
you
me
can't
both.
tell me
With a
otherwise.
Bible in the other hand.
Yes, literally. And then how other people see me is like a little chihuahua barking. Yeah, that's how
Oh
that's
my god.
how other people see
They're
me.
like,
It's like,
they're like, okay, Allie, we get it. Woo!
I'm over here just
Talk
like
about overthrowing the
Rosie
government and
Revere,
such. Rosie Revere.
just ready to take down
Rosie the Riveter.
something. Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh. Hilarious.
anyway,
Crying. Okay.
good
Anyways.
times.
Yeah. Does it make sense now that Allie and I wish that we were born in the American Revolution? Like, listen,
Yeah.
I would take all the hygiene problems to be a part of that
Oh,
revolution.
same girl. I would be like,
1776,
me
baby.
and Betsy Ross would be like, okay,
Sewing
so,
the flag.
so me and Abigail
So,
Adams,
girl,
me and Abigail Adams, okay,
we need
girl.
more gunpowder, sir.
Yeah. Okay, girl, at night, at dawn, we go and tip the tea over the ship. Me and Sunny out there with all the men. We'd just be like, we would like disguise ourselves as men, literally. Like, we just pull up our hair, low
Colonial,
pony.
colonial pony. Oh my god.
Just
Love
oh, we would rock it
Okay.
so hard.
we would
Honestly, though, in all
we would put
seriousness,
those men to shame.
oh, let me at it just for a moment, gentlemen. Let me at it. You say don't shoot till you can see the white on their eyes. Okay. You watch what I
Okay.
can do. You watch what
Well,
I
I
can do
have
with that
night vision,
rifle.
baby.
George Washington's up
Oh
there
my
just
god.
like,
He ain't got nothing on me.
girl.
It's like, "You go, girls.
Yeah, we would
I taught him
sing.
well."
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
there's like a weird mix of like being wanting to be like this like sweet traditional wife, and then also just like put me on the front lines, sir. I'm ready to serve my country. I mean, if they could only know what our country has gone through and going through right now.
Oh,
Oh
they
boy, you wouldn't even want to know. You wouldn't even want to know what our founders would be doing right now. It would be
oh
a
man, I
straight up,
cannot wait to see them in heaven and be like, "Listen, I
yo,
tried."
yo, we tried. Peace and love. Peace and love, brother.
You and me both. We had
Founding
it,
fathers
okay?
taking selfies.
All my fault. That long train of
Oh,
usurpations and abuses.
yeah. Dude,
Anyways,
I'm ready for a new government though. But
for sure.
I just fear that we are past the point of creating a new government and it's just going to be chaos. Chaos. I made a meme, guys. We'll put it on our Instagram maybe. I made a meme and it says, you know that meme where the lady's like kind of frowning and that she's blonde and then she's kind of like into it in the next slide?
Yeah,
The
where it's
first
like, yeah.
one, the first one where she's kind of frowning, it says
She's like,
anarchy. And then the next one, she's like kind of interested and it says the Declaration of Independence gives us a right and a duty to make a new overthrow our
but
government.
that's
And
not anarchy. Like anarchy is right because like that's what I'm
anar-
saying. Like it's so the Declaration of Independence saying that is different from like being an anarchist, which is like you
100%.
don't believe in government at all,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is just pure chaos. Like no, that's
Yeah,
not.
it's
Yeah,
kind of like communism, but communism believes in the state. But anarchy is just like everyone's gonna be just on your own and fine, and it
yeah.
just doesn't work that way, people. It doesn't. Sorry, you live in La La Land.
Gosh,
People naturally
yeah.
want to have unjust power and rule over others, and that has to be limited.
It is shocking how many people, quite shocking, how many people are actually self-proclaimed communists. Like
Oh yeah.
I don't understand. Or have you been living under a rock? Like what are these
Mhm.
people actually like
They think
what are
it's
they
like
reading? Like
so
what are they
edgy.
it's so ridiculous to me. Like
Yeah.
I, this is a serious problem. I mean, that's what makes our work so important because people are not learning this. Like they're just simply not learning like what happened, And
Yeah.
it's like it's so clear cut. It's
Yeah.
cut and dry.
Yep. Yeah. And then yeah,
And
it's this
it
mad
goes back to
cycle.
the fact that like yeah, it's a cycle and it goes back to the fact that communism at its core was created by theologists, by thinkers who were trying to come up with like the best world for people because they lived in a society that did have like pretty much two classes. That was
Mhm.
the elite, the rich, the wealthy, the ruling class,
Yeah.
and the peasants, the poor. That was like the structure of the society that came
The
before them. And I think
monarchy,
they were
yeah.
kind of like in the monarchy, they were kind of like in the middle, and it was changing and evolving. And so they're like, well, how do we combat this? Because like we don't want peasants on the street, which yeah, okay, nobody does, but
Yeah.
it also like that's what makes America so exceptional and so unique is that we have a middle class where people are working hard, earning a living, can pay their bills, support their families, and still have room to take vacation and enjoy their lives and enjoy their families, enjoy that
Mhm.
their time on this earth, which is so precious.
Yep.
So it's but like long story short, what I was gonna say is that like it goes back to this idea that they created this theory that isn't real. Like it's not
Mhm.
based in any reality. It's just an
No.
idea. It's a lie. It's just
Yeah. Well,
it's
then
this
it's this
imaginative
mad s
world and society that literally doesn't exist
yeah,
and
and then
cannot
it's that
exist.
it's what I'm talking about is, like, the mad cycle when you actually show communists or talk to, just big government to liberals and communists. They're like, "Oh, that's not real. That's not the real kind," or whatever, and so it's
Right.
this
Oh, it hasn't
cycle
been done right. Yeah.
of denying, like, what's actually been done, so you're just like and they can't answer what will be done differently. That's the part. That's the
But
point.
can you tell us? That's like
Yeah.
people like not wanting to debate, like they're like,
Yes.
"Oh, well, you're wrong," but then they don't want to actually have a conversation about it. It's like,
Yeah.
come at me, bruh.
Yeah.
Come."
Yeah. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this little bit of a rant today
Yeah.
on communism, catching you up with our last couple weeks. And hopefully, we'll be back on here again
Yeah.
next
Back on our
week.
schedule.
Back on the schedule. It's hard with travel and stuff, especially
Yeah,
when we're
for
together.
sure.
Clearly.
We distract each other.
Yeah. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
listening, and I hope to have you guys come back next week. Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.